Hello and welcome to the Armchair Show. I'm your host, Tanesha Austen, and I'm so thrilled to have you guys here with us today. Today we have a very special episode as we are joined by MotorTrader and some very special guests. I guess if we all go around the table with a quick introduction to begin with of who we are and where we're from, so anyone that doesn't know us knows who we are.
Yeah, I'm Jasleen Mann. I write for MotorTrader.
I'm Gerard Thatcher, CEO of Motortech.ai.
And I'm Tom Kilroy, the CEO of Keyloop.
Perfect. And to kick off today's episode, we're going to start off with a little bit of a news update. So Jasleen, if you could kick us off for what's happening in the industry and what's going on in the world of automotive, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to turn our attention to a big development in the automotive retail technology sector with Keyloop. Keyloop is now moving forward with its acquisition of Motortech.ai.
That's our very exciting news, hence our guests that we have got here today.
Yeah, so the deal is essentially designed to bring advanced conversational AI into Keyloop's Fusion automotive retail platform through the use of Motortech.ai's customer agent, Amy. And of course, we've got Tom and Gerard here to tell us more. So.
Perfect. So firstly, congratulations. Very, very exciting news. And Tom, I guess I'll start off with you as it's such a big announcement for the industry. What made Motortech.ai the right fit for Keyloop?
Yeah, sure. Well, obviously, we are trying to improve the customer experience for the end customer in interacting with automotive retail, the quality of the technology and also the data and its availability to people at the right moment. So a lot of it is about, we've been launching our Fusion automotive retail platform, and we know that having AI capability is an incredibly important part of that overall offering. And we met the team from Motortech and we're really impressed with what they built and also how great Amy is as a you know, in terms of what it can do, what she can do. And we talked about our vision together of where we wanted to take that. And actually, it was a really easy fit. I mean, you remember those early conversations where we were just going, yeah, we see that the same way. We really think that could be a great fit together. So part of it was that we had the same vision, and I think we really saw the same direction.
Well, we were lucky enough to have Gerard on the show back in October, and I remember you sharing about the vision then. So I see why you would have taken one look and been very, very interested. But Gerard, I guess for people that aren't familiar with what you guys do, I guess let's take a step back. What problem were you first trying to solve in the industry?
Yeah, interesting. So I've said before on our previous episode that I'm an automotive guy. I've been in the industry for about 30 odd years, working inside of OEMs and independents and franchises. But I also have my own dealership, and it's inside of that dealership where, you know, there was obviously on a daily basis I was experiencing these problems, these communication issues or staff efficiency issues. And it was around 3.5 years ago, and I was just saying to Tom earlier today, like, it was 3.5 years ago that ChatGPT obviously came about, and OpenAI and the large language models were starting to sort of, you know, open up. And I was realizing at that point that this is an opportunity to solve these issues using artificial intelligence. So, you know, that's where I got to work with trying to create effectively the very best salesperson or assistant or agent that I could create, that it needed to be every bit as good as me or my very best salesperson, to try and solve those issues, such as, you know, just basic things like customers being able to get access to information outside of hours. And that was one of the first issues or problems I wanted to address. And then thereafter, like, how can we have these unlimited number of conversations happening at all at one time? You know, so yeah, amongst many things, that was sort of how it came about and how it got started.
And I think that's one of the things that makes Amy so good, is that you really have that dealer head. So you understand the challenges, you understand the problems, you understand what the industry needs. So you're very well connected to the problem. But I also imagine that you went for a lot of teething issues and you got to see firsthand what worked and what didn't.
Yeah, a lot of grey hairs went into the process. Yeah, but like, I mean, we tore it up and started again, right? Because each problem you came across, like, it wasn't good enough. Or you've probably heard the words like hallucination and things like that with artificial intelligence. Obviously, if you're a dealership or an OEM and you're going to have Amy entrusted to talk to your customers, that's just like a no-go, right? You cannot have hallucination. And so quite early on into the journey, like most most people still figure out today, like it can go wrong. But so we tore it up, we started again, and we put in these guardrails and these things that would stop that from happening. So you can trust it now, and that's the most important thing, was to build a product that was able to be trusted enough that you could allow your customers to interact with it, most importantly.
Amazing. And I guess the obvious question, right, is why now? Because AI is growing in popularity. I don't think there'll be anybody that is listening or watching this podcast that won't be familiar with AI and won't have at least dabbled with it in some capacity, whether that is small or whether they use it every day, all day at work. But why is right now the right moment for AI-powered customer communication in automotive retail? And I guess it's a question for both of you, really. I guess for you to start off with, but then Tom, for why Keyloop is recognising now's the right time to invest.
So I think in a way, why now, right? Because the large language models, AI, it's already out there. So people already become accustomed to this sort of behavioral change, right? And, they're doing a lot of the sort of the work in making people feel comfortable with that. People are switching from search to questions, right? They're migrating from search engines, traditional search engines, into large language models to help them on their daily tasks or whatever that might be. So that's one reason. And the second one is probably just like, I think as a dealership, if you're not adopting it, or as an OEM, if you're not adopting it, then I think the concern from that side is that you may very well get left behind, right? Because consumers now expect this. And it's no surprise. I mean, you've been able to buy your shopping online for like 10, 15 years. You could buy a suit. You could do all these things. You could book your holiday. You do all these things online. But traditionally, being able to buy a car and have access to all the information you need to be able to buy a car hasn't been available. And so, Tom, you could probably add some.
Well, I'd say a couple of things as well. Like one, you can see this with Amy. It's like AI has got to the point where it now does things that are really useful for us. So the first question of why now is because we can now do things that we couldn't do before. And we're experiencing that in lots of aspects of our lives as we use AI in different ways. But what we don't want is the frustration of like, can't actually get done, or I can't actually see the cars that are available. So the capability of having the guardrails and at a point where a dealership will trust Amy to speak to their customers and be useful, I think we really arrived at that point. And then I think the second reason is connecting that to the data that we have in our systems, because Keyloop has like 25,000 rooftops in total across all of our customer base. So we have an enormous amount of information.
That's a lot of data for AI, right?
Yeah. And of course, that makes it very powerful. So there's the real potential for our customers to use it in a really powerful way. And you can see that has arrived now. So we're at that moment.
Yeah. When, Tom mentioned earlier, when we first got together and aligned with sort of the vision, I mean, the excitement for me was the data, because I just knew what Amy could do with that data. And as Tom said again, with the guardrails and everything in place, there was an unlimited number of opportunities that could unravel from this. So that whole future vision all of a sudden just became a reality as a result of this. So super important.
To give an example, right, at the moment, obviously Amy's primarily for sales and talking to people about buying a car. But if you, later this year, when we have Amy for after sales, one of the things, of course, that she'll be able to do is if you pop into the dealership and your brake pads have still got 3 months on them and they say, look, you should come back in, it's actually very difficult for people to follow that up. It just isn't time to do it. But if Amy reaches out to them personally and says, well, you came in 2.5 months ago, we're just checking, have you had that done? If you haven't, we can actually book you in. And it's really personalised to you. And it's something that at the moment it's really hard to actually get to happen. And so we think that's the kind of thing that's going to become possible.
And that's perfect for people like me that are forgetful, because if a dealership told me to come back in 3 months, I will forget. And then at one point in 6 months, I'll wake up in a cold sweat and it will just hit me. So,
but also when you're at the service desk, right, and you're presented with your bill, but also you're then presented with, and your car needs brake pads. Do you want to get them booked in now? The typical response is, no, I feel like I'm being upsold, right? So Amy will just sort of reach out softly, human-like, very gently, and just sort of say, look, you can do it. And it allows people to communicate at this sort of arm's length, right, from the comfort of their own home, through WhatsApp, through email, through whatever channel that they pick and choose, but just in a very soft, non-selly way. So I think it gives the customer sort of that more sort of comfort and control over the outcome.
You both briefly touched upon kind of data and the ability for Amy to connect to a dealership's data. But I guess for people that kind of aren't aware, what data can Amy connect to and how does that work?
Do you want to start?
Well, I mean, we started off obviously as in sales, as Tom said. So first of all, inventory. So Amy's able to access all your inventory, and we're going to be connected into Keyloop's Vehicle Hub. But at the moment as well, we're also connected into Auto Trader Connect. So Amy can therefore understand everything about the car. So when somebody's got a simple question like, does that car have Bluetooth or Apple CarPlay? Amy's able to instantly respond to yes. But it also means, and I think a lot of dealers will relate to this question, because it is the most asked question of any one web customer or for dealerships, is this car still available? So because all inventory systems today are effectively live, right? Auto Trader's live and obviously Vehicle Hub's live. When that car is sold, it gets removed from the Vehicle Hub. So therefore, Amy will say, sorry, it's no longer available. Or, yes, it is still available. How can I help? And therefore, that conversation will just continue. But as Tom said, we're linking into into Vehicle Hub, and then we're able to then distribute the leads into Sales Hub and other parts of the Keyloop infrastructure that Tom will talk about.
Yeah, so inventory and leads, and then obviously understanding you as a customer. And then as we build up both the customer and the vehicle 360, more and more information about all aspects of the vehicle that you've currently got. And then, for example, to give where we will go to with it is that moment when you might change your car, your retention offers, where am I on equity parity, what might I be able to get? So Amy will be able to actually start to recommend those things for you. And again, personalize it, know your individual situation, exactly how much your car is worth, all of those kinds of things. So there's a huge amount both now and then coming. So I honestly think that will do two really important things. Is I actually think people really appreciate that personalized thing. And secondly, I think it would be great for dealer efficiency because people will just be able to get more done. And, the reality, of course, is people in dealerships are very busy.
Yeah.
And
I think it's one of the biggest problems, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's too much to do and not enough time. And I think customer satisfaction gets put on the back burner and people struggle with that.
Yeah.
Customers get frustrated and dealers don't have the time.
Yeah.
And I imagine it allows dealers to free up the time to do what they're good at, right?
Absolutely.
Salespeople are great at building relationships with customers, and an AI can't take away conversations like this, right? It can't replace that, but it can help with that almost not admin, but some of the data checking, like you've just said, of saying, well, brake pads need booking in, of okay, this is where you're at with your current vehicle and these are maybe some options to replace and to change, and then allow a salesperson to focus on the relationship conversation and to guide the customer and to do what they're incredibly good at.
So that therefore means that customer satisfaction and the attention that we give customers boosts, right? Customers are going to get a better outcome. Dealers are going to be more efficient because the AI is doing sort of that heavy lifting or the arduous work that used to take a lot of human time that no longer is required. So I think everything sort of wins, and I think that's the best place.
Yeah, I really agree with that. And I think, we're all learning as we go along at the moment with AI. But this whole thing with people's anxiety about, is this going to affect my job or is it going to take my job away? I think there's no question that we can make people more effective in their jobs with AI. This is not about replacing people. It's about actually freeing them up to spend more time on the things that we all would like to be spending time on, including increasing customer satisfaction and I think for the customer, putting some of the joy of that back so it's easier, it's less hard work.
Yeah.
And if that's true for people in the dealership and for the customer that's trying to buy, I think that will be very much appreciated.
And I guess that's the big fear, isn't it? That so many people have, will AI take my job? And I think you've just articulated that perfectly, that actually it's not about taking the jobs, it's just about making your job easier and allowing you to do it better and allowing you to focus on what you're good at.
That's it.
Exactly.
And I guess for someone that hasn't yet seen Amy, what would you say that Amy does? I guess what would be that elevator pitch, so to speak?
Oh, she does so much. Where do I start? I think it's that one sort of support assistant, conversational assistant that's now going to be with you from the moment you start thinking about the car that you want to buy, forever, throughout your whole vehicle life and journey. Again, now being part of Keyloop and having access to that real world of data that sits inside of there, Amy's going to be there for when you're interested in buying a car, you're selling your car, booking it in for a service, or looking for another car again. And also then Amy will be reaching out to you at certain intelligent points, knowing from the data that we've got, like when is the best time to talk to you about your next car and what offers that are relevant to you may be important, in a year and a half or 2 years or 3 years down the line into your already existing purchase. So I think, she's that one automotive agent assistant that sort of works with you throughout your entire vehicle lifetime.
And then I guess for existing customers from both sides of the table, what does this mean for existing customers, for people that are already using Amy? What does this acquisition mean for those dealers or customers? Can they expect to see any changes?
I think only improvements. Yeah, I think that we're striving to obviously do better and better and have access to more and more data and information, and we're able to move now at the speed of light, which is really exciting. So no, I think it's all looking very, very great for for existing customers. Really
And then for existing Keyloop customers, I guess, what does that mean for them?
Sure. So, the first thing to say is we've got an ambitious, Gerard and the team have got an ambitious set of things to do this year. And there's a lot more coming in terms of what Amy does.
I've never heard Gerard not sound ambitious. That doesn't surprise me.
And we're super keen to make all of that happen. So we want to enable that rather than. So the vision for where the product is going is very much Gerard and his teams, and we want that to be delivered. So that's sort of task number one. For Keyloop customers who are not currently Motortech customers, of course, it gives the possibility to how can I deploy this, right? So we'll have those discussions with customers throughout this year. And it's a great opportunity to access something which is super powerful right away. And so we'll be talking to all of our customers about that. But I think it very much speaks for itself when you see Amy in action. We had meetings with customers yesterday, and they were looking at Amy and going, "This is super interesting." And you get that reaction very quickly. It's very easy to understand how it could help.
Well, I remember you saying last time that some customers don't even realise they're speaking to an AI.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amy's now getting reviews, like Google
Wow.
reviews. People are actually like leaving reviews on Google as if they were leaving it for a salesperson or
Incredible.
or a human. It is incredible, and So yeah, we make, as I said last time, we make no bones of the fact that it's AI. We have a default opening messages, and dealers can change it. But typically it says, "Hi, I'm Amy, your AI assistant. I'm here to help you." But people start off a bit frosty, right? They're like, "Oh, show me this," like really short, sort of unempathetic, but by the end of it, they're then leaving emojis and like wishing Amy a good night, and Amy then responds and does exactly the same. So yeah, I think what's really important and distinctive and different is that Amy is that human-like, that you don't even realize that you're dealing with an AI. It goes to the back of your mind because you're getting the information that you want when you want it. And it's solving all of the customer problems all at the same time. And of course, it's so fast and instant that you get everything you need. So the very fact that it's AI, I think AI becomes frustrating when it doesn't work.
Yes.
When you get caught in a doom loop, or if it's just a chat bot and it just feels like it's not getting you anywhere. So I think that's the important thing and the massive distinction with Amy.
And I think that's a really important thing to say, isn't it? Because most of us have probably all used AI chatbots now. And there's so many poor ones in the market for both our industry, but also just as kind of the global market. I was using an Amazon chatbot yesterday, and within 3 messages, my first thing is speak to an agent, speak to a human, speak to a human, because I'm in that loop that you've described. Yeah. But I've used Amy, and there is no loop. It has access to so much data to give me the answers that I need, that it removes that frustration that I think we're so used to. And I think that's probably the key thing for people to keep in mind, isn't it?
100%.
Not to compare it to perhaps some of the negative experiences that we've all had.
When people call it a chatbot, I cringe. I'm like, oh. But only because I know just the hard work and the frustration and the problems I had to overcome in order to get it to where it is today. And
what should we call it instead?
What
would you like to hear it be called instead of a chatbot?
I don't know. And chatbot is fine, of course. But the chatbot's so wide, isn't it? And they start from like basic if this then that bots, and now include artificial intelligence. But I don't know. It's an AI agent, I suppose.
So I really agree with that. We've all had that experience where a chatbot is unhelpful, and you feel like you hit a wall. And as you say, I must speak to somebody, please transfer me. And that's super frustrating. I think there's another factor once you realize that the AI is actually helpful, which maybe is worth just talking about for a second, which is actually once you realize it can answer questions and is helpful, you no longer have that embarrassment you sometimes feel with a human person on the other side of like asking more and more and more questions. Because eventually with a human, you kind of think, I better not ask another one because I'm starting to feel like I'm I'm using up a lot of this person's time. And of course, you don't get that with Amy. Keep asking as many times as you want. And she's never going to stop answering. So, that's
Do you know an interesting fact, and this is only data I think we've had across the last couple of months, is that now more people are choosing to. We analysed 24 hours of usage of Amy, right, across the the number of customers that we've got, and now there's a higher number of percentage of people using Amy during the day now than at night. We thought it was going to be the other way around. We unravelled this data. We were like, oh my god, it's 58% during working hours. So people are actually choosing to use this as a primary source of communication during the day, which then is another important factor, right, to consider, because dealers are still lifting the phone who don't have Amy, right? Because leads are coming in, these high volumes of leads are coming in. Amy's not there to qualify them and help them. And then they're phoning them up in the morning, trying to get hold of these people who are either busy at work or simply can't talk, or that might have changed their mind. But they're actually going online and conversing with Amy instead, because it's a preferred method of contact rather than lifting the phone. And it's that softer engagement, isn't it? And we're seeing the significant uplift in conversions where actually customers are coming back to Amy, because providing they haven't deleted cookies, the conversation of Amy will continue on that person's device for however long it takes, right? So 2 weeks later, 4 weeks later, customers are coming back. Amy's got the full transcript thread. She remembers the conversation. She's able to carry on that conversation.
And she probably has a better memory than a human, right?
Exactly right. No, exactly right. And so it's, hey, Mr. Jones, how you doing? Like, let's book you in for that test drive we were talking about 2 weeks ago. So, and I think it's that, like I said, it's that softer route into dealerships, but it's the access to the information in that sort of, really human-like fashion that I think is most important.
Also, buying a car is really complex. We use so much jargon. There's so many things to consider. And when you think about finance and engine size and so many different things to consider. And I think sometimes it can feel a little embarrassing to actually say to a human, I don't know what any of that means. I don't understand. I've not done this before. Someone else has actually purchased my last car for me. I didn't go through this process or whatever it is.
Yeah, you're right.
And actually, when you realize that you're talking to an AI that's not going to judge you or look at you like, oh, I can't believe you don't know that. And even though most sales execs wouldn't do that, right? They're understanding. As a human, we still feel a little embarrassed. And perhaps it removes a lot of that when you're talking to an AI.
Does.
So.
I think that's exactly right. And you're right, buying a car can be a bit daunting, but it should also be something that you're excited about.
Yeah.
I mean, when you get a new car, it's an incredibly exciting moment. So it's really, I think if we can reduce the amount of it's daunting and how complicated it's easier to navigate, we can kind of put some of that pleasure again back into thinking, I'm really excited about having the car.
Yeah.
And people do feel that way.
Well, I guess, you can ask all of your so-called embarrassing questions to AI. I don't know what this means. What does this mean? What does this acronym stand for? How does the finance work? And then focus on the exciting part with a customer, with a real human and a salesperson of being like, do I actually like this car? Is this a test drive? Or what color shall I do? What seat shall I go for? The interior and all of the fun, exciting part of the vehicle.
Yeah,
and
100%.
100%.
That's a very nice touch. I guess the obvious question I have to ask is about the future of Amy, right? I guess, where do we see this going in the future? I guess in the next 12 months, 5 years, 7 years, if we were to sit down again and have this conversation, where do we think we might be?
I think Tom mentioned earlier that, there's an exciting roadmap ahead, including after sales and then beyond. But I'll let Tom take this one.
Well, no, we think that Amy can be the way in which you interact with automotive retail to get whatever you need the whole way around the journey. As Gerard said earlier, that whole question of like, whether I'm interested in a new vehicle or I'm owning a vehicle at the moment in service or thinking about changing it, all those phases. And we see Amy being central to the whole thing, right? So, and an easy way to have any of those kinds of interactions and whatever the medium is, because that will simplify people's interaction with what is a very complicated, both sector and buying experience. And we just think that in itself can be really valuable for people.
And through ease as well, right? Like Amy's going to be able to talk to customers through WhatsApp, through social media, through email.
Give you choice.
And we talk about the future. It will go to phone at some point, So I think it's again, Amy is wherever the customer needs them to be and is in possession of all of the data that they need to be able to get when they need it, most importantly, when they need it, but in that human-like, that friendly way, and is able to help them, guide them, solve their problems. So
Yeah, and I think improved choice, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's. I mean, when you get a mortgage, you're not getting a mortgage because you want a mortgage. You're trying to buy a home, right? And so it's a complicated thing. You're trying to navigate your way through it. But the thing you're trying to achieve is something that is not just that. And I think it's the same with owning a car. It's like people don't own a car because they want to spend a lot of time thinking about how to get it serviced or when they might change it. They actually want to enjoy owning it. And then if we can make all of the rest of those things easier and give them more choice, then we'll be winning.
Amazing. And I guess for anyone that is cautious or hesitant, because there will be some dealers that are still very, very cautious or hesitant, or like we've touched upon, had a negative experience, what is the one key piece of advice that you would give to them?
Well, I'd say give it a try and maybe limit what you're doing. Try a pilot. You know, like choose an opportunity to actually say, look, I'm going to draw a box around this and say, let's give this a go and see what happens, and try it out.
Yeah, I think that's right. And Amy comes in, it's a modular solution, right? So you can have just the very entry-level basic Amy who only can talk about cars and help book test drives and book callbacks. And then you can say, okay, now I trust her enough to maybe now talk about finance or to now value vehicles or to now book in service. So yeah, I mean, people can just sort of grow with it, if you like. We've said that with clients already. They've started off slow and they've not wanted to disrupt their business too much by throwing too much in at the early stages. And then they've slowly started to unlock these things as they've realized. Because the customer, they ultimately want it all, right? The customer wants the full journey, all like nicely wrapped up inside of one single conversation. But dealers are not seeing the same thing because they've got their concerns, which are totally valid. And what are my sales team going to think about it? Or what is my sales manager going to think about it? And as a business owner, I understand and I empathize entirely. So yeah, we deliberately made Amy like that, where you've got a range of packages and it's all modular, so you can pick and choose what you want, and Amy will do as much or as little as you like.
I'd actually encourage people to think of it like that in terms of like a staircase. I mean, you don't try and leap to the top of the stairs in one go. And I think one of the things that we're all learning about AI is that the adoption of how to use it and how to fit it into the kind of the way we work is a really important part of it. So I actually encourage people not to go for some sort of big bang. Personally, I think the right thing to do is to say, let's try and learn, adjust, make sure we know we're trust, comfortable, and then move to the next step. And I think if you do it like that, that's the right way to go. It's a responsible way to do it.
Well, interestingly, I was just thinking that's what you do with a new member of the team, right? And a new employee.
That's it.
You wouldn't hire somebody on the first day, throw them into the deep end and give them all the responsibility, right? You would teach them first a little bit, give them a little bit of responsibility. And once you were comfortable and once you'd build up trust with that employee, you'd give them more responsibility and you would ease them in. So I guess almost treating Amy like another employee.
That's a great way of thinking about it.
We've got dealers that have got the lower versions of Amy, or rather are just on their journey of seeing and understanding the value of it. And then we've got dealers now that are also running the full extent of Amy as it exists today, which is on their website as a web widget. And we've got other exciting, cool products to come that we'll talk about next time. But, and they're seeing returns on as much as like £18 for every £1 spent.
Wow.
This is just an AI agent on your website. And 150 hours saved across 90 days in terms of staffing time spent that would have otherwise been spent following up leads. So we're starting to pull out now this really incredible, very valuable return on investment data. I think dealers will be fascinated to learn. But ultimately, the more you get Amy to do, the more it can save you, the more it can earn you. And I think that's the really important point.
We all love a good ROI, right?
We
I
love
mean,
ROI.
that's...
Yeah.
And Jasleen, before we started filming, you said you were a little bit nervous about AI within your role. Have these guys managed to convince you to maybe dabble and to try it within your own role today?
No, absolutely. I think Tom made a very good point earlier about, not having that fear that it's there to replace you or anything like that. It's just kind of there to support you and, if anything, kind of enhance what you do.
It sounds like you guys have very well and truly done your jobs well today.
Mission accomplished.
Perfect. I think that's a fantastic point to end. So I'll just end again by saying congratulations on the acquisition. It sounds like some very exciting things are to come, and I look forward to watching what happens next.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.